Thank you for joining us. This is still Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for today. The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, has stated that there is nothing inherently wrong with Nigeria becoming a one-party state if that is what the people desire. Ganduje made this remark on Friday after leading a delegation of 3 senators from KB State to meet with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The senators Adamu Aliero, Yahya Abdullahi and Garba Maidoki, who were formerly with the People's Democratic Party PDP, announced their decision to defect to the ruling APC. Responding to concerns that the growing wave of defection from opposition parties could lead to a one-party system, Ganduje cited China as a successful example of such a model. He emphasized that a one-party state cannot be imposed but can result from negotiation and effective governance. You know, they say too many cooks spoil the soup. Too many political parties spoil governance. That's a report from Ganduje. Let's get talking. I still have with me Emeka Madunagu and Barrister Van Sufeli. Thank you so very much, gentlemen, for still being here.
Pleasure.
Yes, I'd love to start with you, Barrister Van Sufeli. It's actually so funny. Ganduje could actually quote this, that you know they say too many cooks spoil the soup, too many political parties spoil governance. Is he saying this act of ignorance?
See, Ganduje is just talking anyhow. I mean, what kind of talk is this? Nigeria is a democracy, a multi-party democracy. So you don't come and say that if Nigeria can turn to one-party system and there's nothing wrong about that. It's wrong, and that's because Ganduje he has not even been dealt with. The last time he was caught on camera, you know, collecting money and fixing all over his cap and all of that. He was never prosecuted, so I don't blame him. He is an acting chairman of a political party. He does not even have legitimacy, okay? And then he's saying this kind of a thing. And these are the things that work against, that people will use against him in future. Saying that using China, as he forgot that China, if you embezzle money there, they will behead you. He didn't say that. So when you make this kind of useless comparison in a country that is this multi-ethnic, with the diversity in this country, with the level of delicate socio-cultural coexistence that we have, you come and start to make this kind of statement. It just tells you that our politicians have not learned anything, okay? In some places, statements like this can lead to war. Yes. Utterances like this can lead to serious crisis. So our politicians should be careful what they say. So Nigeria cannot become one-party system because they are not in power. When they were in opposition, why did they tell us that what we should have is a one-party system? So that the party in power, then the PDP, will be the party, the only party. Why were they using propaganda and all sorts to make sure that they brought that government down? Is it now that Nigeria is now ripe for one-party system? It was not right for one-party system when they were in opposition. So I see this as careless, anyhow talk that should not be coming from elders. If it's a child that is saying this, we know how we'll take him to the back door and give him some lashes. But when you now have an elder, you know, talking this way, you know that it's either Nigeria is finished or there's something fundamentally wrong with those who should pretend over this country. And it's so quite unfortunate, very unfortunate.
So why would think that is quite unfortunate? The people with the APC have more points to state what they had, of course, you know, come up with from the chairman of the party. And one of them was they actually gave the advantages of China's one-party state, which they said could work in Nigeria. And one of them is political stability, efficient decision-making, focused economic planning, which, of course, if we take a look at the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is tilting towards that. So do you think all of this stated is a good reason for Ganduje to think that a one-party state is good for Nigeria?
I didn't see corruption-free a corruption-free state, as one of the points you stated. I wish it was there. Then I'll tell them, bring on the one-party state. Adamo Alero, one of the senators, is a former governor. What has happened to his case with EFCC? They had a case against him. What has happened to his case with EFCC? So when I saw that, I was just laughing. What are these? Who are these people trying to deceive? They think we have short memories. How did China become a one-party state? Chairman Mao, who shot China's borders. Do you know how many people died because of that? Because he had a wrong idea. They are leaders from time to time have this idea, this puritanical idea that the countries they superintend over, are the best examples of what a society should be. And so they bring up utopian ideas. Look, that's what you see Trump is trying to do now. That's what Chairman Mao did, when he shot China's borders. But people died. Eventually, when he died, Deng Xiaoping, what did he do? He moved China away from that part of isolationism. And China embraced Western ideas. China today, forget the fact that it's one party. It's communism. It's not about the party. It's about the ideology. Communism at the root. These people, Nigerian political parties don't have any ideology. That is the beginning of the tragedy. Let them bring up an ideology of capitalism. And we will roll out the constitutions of the Democratic National Convention in the US and the Republican Party. We will show it to them. We will not take them to the UK, where the Rescue Britain Party roasted the Conservative Party recently in local elections. We will take them to all those places. Look at the agenda. What was the Conservative Party pushing? We will show them, because politics begins, all politics is local. Right from the root. The Conservative Party lost, do you know how many people they lost? How many seats they lost at the local level? Now, let APC, first of all, tell us what their ideology is. If they can tell us what their ideology is, let them practice it for 6 months. They will be the ones calling for multi-party democracy. 1, 2. Why I say that one party cannot work in Nigeria is that the political parties are owned by politicians in APC, PDP. They are the owners of those parties. So those parties are special vehicles. If they or their cronies do not get seats, they immediately move to those parties and get tickets. So it's a business. Politics is a business. A former Senate president I interviewed one time, he told me now, he said politics is an investment. Hey, people bothering yourself, politics is an investment. People put in money with the expectation that it will yield them a political office, and then from there, they will recoup their investment. So that is, when they are telling you one party state, it is not because it is drawn out of an ideological foundation. No, it is because it will further their business interests of state capture. So then what is the political stability in it? Look at other countries that have a multi-party system. I think Israel has about 30 parties. Is it the UK? Name it. Even the United States has more than 2 parties. But there can never be, you see, when you talk about China, China is basically a Western society. Everything China is doing is just copying the West. There's nothing basically original in whatever China is doing. That's the truth. So when you mention China, tell us the ideology that first of all, anybody who gets into government and steals 1 kobo will be blasted.
Of which Ganduje stole.
That is it.
Camera. If we were adopting the Chinese model, would it be alive?
Let's begin from there.
To suggest Chinese. And remember, if this had been said by an opposition party, with their level of intolerance, they would have deployed Felix Mwaka to go and write an epistle, like he wrote against Obi, that Obi compared Nigeria with Nazi Germany, the current Nigerian state of Nigeria with Nazi Germany. Then he went to and wrote an epistle where he was condemning Obi, condemning Utomi.
Utomi,
yes. Yeah, because Utomi talked about it was Palestine not to be.
Yes, exactly.
Palestine was the one who talked about Nigeria, comparing it with Nazi Germany. If this had been done, because what he did now is not actually different from what Utomi did, the comparison. Because this thing is not even, you are comparing China with Nigeria on the basis of what? Do you know that the Chinese, they don't have this ethnic difference, this huge ethnic difference that we have? Do you know that this is a country that they're able to even say, you know what, we'll stay away from Facebook, we'll stay away from social media, we'll create our own. You understand? Because they are largely in the same likeness, in the same, almost the same. I don't know about the wideness of the ethnic divide.
No, I think they have the Uyghurs, you know, one side, which is a problem for them.
But is it really an issue? I don't see it as not like, because for us it's a big deal.
A big deal, yeah.
So you don't dabble into things you don't know anything about. You don't just talk. If somebody has said this thing and they will say it's treason. Yeah, because it's an attempt to, you know, create something. A political party that you should pretend over that have no ideology. You are not even bothered that you are pretending over a political party that have no focus, that have no ideology, that have not achieved anything, that have dragged the country backward, that pretended over Nigerians sloping into clinical depression and poverty in huge scale, where they were not before. And it does not bother you at all. What is coming out from your empty head is that Nigeria can become a one-party state, and then there's China that's an example. I mean, come on.
But
come on.
A barrister, they say politics is local. They're looking at Lagos as a macrocosm. Lagos hasn't gotten to where it should be infrastructurally and human development index or so. But when you compare Lagos to other states in Nigeria, it is one state that has gotten it right with regards to consistency. Yes, consistency in leadership. One leader hands over whatever it is they're building to another one, and there's this consistency.
But do you know Lagos State ought to have been bigger, better, and more industrialized if they allow opposition to coexist? Yes. There's no opposition now. The only opposition that is Jimmy Agbaje, that he got to a point where he couldn't even keep up with it again and had to go through the back door too.
But when we compare it to other states in Nigeria where one party comes and whatever they're building, the next party comes and dissolves it and starts afresh.
Sorry, what has given Lagos State this leverage and this thing we talk about? It's not the political system
at all.
It is the fact that Lagos was a crown colony in 1861. As at 1861, Lagos was an extension of England. Lagos had the viable seaport. Lagos was the capital of Nigeria after Calabar. Lagos used to be the seat of governance. So when you talk about colonialism, when you talk about governance, you talk about shipping, you talk about cosmopolitanism, you talk about everything about the modern state is Lagos. Lagos have been there since. So that is from where they derive that strength. It is not the kind of, in fact, this political system that Tinubu introduced in Lagos is even killing Lagos. Yes, it's killing Lagos because that is the reason you cannot have street urchins out of the way. His kind of politics. Somebody referred to the politics as motopack politics. So this motopackism is why Lagos is not even where it should be. You know, when you go to other states, okay, you have a land, you want to build a house, all you need to do buy land, start to build. In Lagos, you buy land, you want to, some people emerge from different places. And they tell you that they create a parallel government. With you can't find that in modern society. So when you see you want Lagos to become medicine and you still retain your ancient dynastic injustice, using area boys and all sorts to enforce. Do you know that in Lagos State, area boys still do their own tax collection?
Billions.
And then rotate it somehow and turn it over to government. Means it's approved by government. And they collect it with violence and hooliganism. And part of it goes to drugs. A portion that goes to drugs where you have to feed these city urchins with drugs for them to be able to be in the sun, in the rain, in whatever condition of the weather, to ensure that that money is turned to government, is turned to their kingpins and all that. You have that parallel government coexisting with the cosmopolitan whatsoever, and you think you have done so well. You have not done well. The government, what gave them that, like I said, is all those indices, not really because they've established it. This issue about one-party state, because Lagos is actually a one-party state, you understand? Has it done well? If you want Nigeria to be one-party state, you have a state in Nigeria where you adopted that one-party system. It's not working. It's not working. It's not what has given Lagos a credence that you now begin to suggest in this land that is full of ethnic divides and all that. Who will now be the president of that one-party state? Who? I mean, we have multi-party system. We have problems. People are talking about, you know, rotate this thing. Some part have not been, some have been several times, and we are still, we will succeed because we are not considered. Appointment is this way, appointment that way. Have you considered? Has this sat down and read the Chinese communist system?
Communist manifesto.
Yes, you need to sit down and read that manifesto. And in China, there's what they call the doctrine of men. There are economic principles that were propounded by Confucius, Confucian, and so many Chinese philosophers. Have you read them? Have you digested it? Do you know why they chose that system and how it's working for them? And do you think it's because of that one-party system that China is working? China is working because of the fact that they adopt liberal economic policies, where whatever it is you start and do, government will fund it. Whatever, at every industrial scale, small, medium scale industries, whatever kind of production, as long as you are producing what is legal under their law, government will fund it, including those who have left China to other countries to start businesses. The government fund from China. Let's go and read this thing before we come to talk. You just want to be talking, so that because you are the acting chairman, you just want to be talking so that you will be heard. That's not how economics work.
Let me just put something. In December 2021 or so, or 22, China voted $50 billion to support, you know, there are three main banks in China, that those banks should give out loans to Chinese businesses.
Entrepreneurs.
You know, I think the equivalent of the 50 billion or something to businesses. Do you know? I think it was $50 million or so. The equivalent was 23 billion naira. Do you know that was what Buhari used for Ways and Means that the National Assembly, Bajabi and Milanko, approved so that they could print more naira, so that they could borrow from the CBN? Why China, the same money or the same December, the same time, why China used its own, gave all those, you know, SMEs and all that at single digits, like 3% or so. This last year, China did the same thing again. I saw, because sometimes I just like to delve into, you know, information about countries. I just read things about this. Let me tell you something. China is founded on deep ideology. And then they see the West as their competitor, as their adversary, not enemy, as their adversary. Nigeria, who is our competitor? With which country are we competing? We are just copying and borrowing and begging. We don't have, there's no competition. And that is why the country is the way it is.
Well, Emeka,
that is why, for instance, we'll be celebrating that we repaid an IMF special drawing right. Something that was agreed that as Buhari was borrowing that money, that look at it will be coming back. You still have interest payments till 2029. So what you are basically paid back is the principal, which was part of the agreement. There was no way you could have escaped it. You are still borrowing money from the World Bank. Look, if they think that maybe IMF, well, okay, that maybe they are using it to prepare the ground to go and borrow from IMF, they might as well put Nigeria on eBay for sale. Just put Nigeria for sale, because you know what? That is going to destroy this economy. It's not, look, it's just a matter of fact. It's on the table. Because, look, why is China the way it is? China has evolved. China saw that it could not, compete with the West on the scale at which the West was, competing, using innovation. So what did they do? They just stayed behind the West, take what the West produces, and produce their own version. So everything they've done, like Barrister said, their own social media. They set up WeChat and Weibo. After the West had set up social media. The West did AI, ChatGPT and the rest of them, Meta AI. China went into DeepSeek. And that is what they will continue to do.
But Emeka, you would agree with me, there are pros and cons to some of these things. Jack Ma, the tech billionaire guru of Alibaba, once stated on national TV just last week, when he was asked why the United States is going through so much. He said it's because there are lots of opposition in America. Rather than the government focus like China is doing, they are rather more gifted at going at things that are not of their concern, going for wars, that the number of money they spent on going for wars would have been enough to industrialize America, such that it wouldn't have any rift or tariff rift with China. So there are pros and cons to
industrialized. America is industrialized.
Then why are they having issues
more
with
industrial? You see,
it's a service sector driven economy.
Yeah, it's service sector driven economy. But one thing you cannot fault America for is that those monies they use to go and fight wars you are talking about were actually for security. Because if America don't do what they are doing, they can as well remain like that and be invaded. Yes, which is true. Economic policy, fighting war is part of economic policies. Repelling the bad guys is also part of securing your community. So it cannot be wholesomely right that all the money they spent in fighting war, they should have used it to industrialize America. America that is industrialized. Even with this service-driven you're talking about, America is still deeply into manufacturing. Yes, there are some states you go to in the U.S., they are sold out to manufacturing. Okay, even though they allow other people to produce for them largely, they tax them and then do all sorts with that same. They don't bother themselves to expend energy and commitment into production in that large scale when they have countries that can do it based on their own specification, and they could tax with the tariff and all that, tax them and all that, and they have the population. So I do not think it's a completely bad idea. America is doing well.
All right, so while we talk about that,
let me just back up what Barrister said just quickly. Donald Trump would have actually brought back that industrial thing if he was in his first term. This idea he has now, if he had it in his first term, he would have, if he was sure that he could run and get a second term directly, of course within 8 years, like you see what people are saying, that to reindustrialize America fully would take like 5 years. So if he was sure this is my first term, by my second term would have started achieving it. It's just a matter of incentives which he has been given, produced in America, but he's not sure that if he tries to push those things, even if his successor comes from the Republican Party, he's not sure that person will have that, that courage, that determination. And then what if he goes to the Democrats? Then everything will just be thrown away. So look at what Donald Trump is doing now. They want to go deeply into AI. Now what are they doing? Sign an agreement with Ukraine so that they can get rare earth minerals. Democratic Republic of Congo is already begging them, come and protect us and take our minerals. So all these things are strategic. These are things that make up America. And that is why China has now taken over all the islands in the South China Sea, because of America. When Jack Ma says this, these people are salesmen of Chinese imperialism. So be careful when you hear people like Jack Ma talking. They are telling you what the Chinese government sat them at the table and told them, not because they believe in it.
Well, of course, he is a strong member of the CCP in China. But just before we will leave, in 90 seconds, if we may, yet on another story, in Nigeria, the Code of Conduct Bureau mandates that all public officials, including political appointees and civil servants, disclose their assets and liabilities upon assuming and leaving office. However, compliance with this legal requirement has been very low. Despite the legal obligation, compliance remains alarmingly low, as it was stated here. However, rather than enforce compliance, the CCB has continued to lament that the rules are not being complied with. In a rather ironic manner, it is appealing to those it should have prosecuted to help promote compliance. From Lagos to Katsina, Borno to Imo, Cross River and Nasarawa states, political appointees and civil servants have refused to comply with the asset declaration. Pastor Vance Ufeli, if you read further on this particular story, where it stated that those it should prosecute to help promote compliance, those it should prosecute are those that are begging to help promote compliance. And he made example of Sanwo-Olu of Lagos. These are people that have not totally declared their assets.
Yes, and it's unfortunate because the way the system was structured even before the APC, the emergence of the APC, is for those that are going for appointments, the DSS will have to do a check, and part of the check is your asset declaration form, and which you will fill and submit, and before you even proceed with the appointment. Okay. Now, for those governors and their deputies and all that, they are expected, because those ones don't need clearance, they are expected upon assumption to declare their assets. Now they have failed to declare. You are begging them when the law, the constitution itself, even the CCB have already criminalize the issue. So what all you need to do for governors and their deputies is to allow them to finish their term of office and go after them. Submit a petition to the EFCC that they did not declare their assets, they are run foul of the law. Let the EFCC go after them when they leave. Then for those ones who had other appointments and all that, and you cannot find the declaration, because you are supposed to declare when you get into office and when you are about to leave, so that they'll be able to track what and what you acquire within that time, and be able to ask the right questions as to why were you able to acquire this, what did you do to acquire this when your income is this. So it's to actually check corruption, and that's one of the fundamental bases upon which corruption can be checked, but that is abandoned. They are begging them that they should please come and, I mean, this is something.
It's actually very difficult, because how can you beg someone whom you are supposed to prosecute
who is
to help drive the promotion for the
you need to go ahead and prosecute them so that it will become.
Was he not the chairman of the tribunal who went somewhere? I was exchanging blows with people.
Yes.
Who was involved? Was involved in an altercation with security guards.
Yes, one of them.
So when you look at conduct, charity begins at home. If the man who should punish people for misconduct is himself, cannot restrain himself in a public place, what do you expect? So there is no, you see, look at Singapore. Singapore abhors corruption. And one of the ways by which it does that is to make sure that government officials are well paid. They pay them so well. Yet, there was a member of government who still dipped his hand into corruption, and he was severely punished. He has been jailed. So that tells you that corruption has different dimensions. So that of Nigeria is petty stealing. That is, people just sit down, open the treasury, like Nuri Bado, National Security Advisor, when he was chairman of EFCC. The testimony he gave before the National Assembly, where he said that a certain governor opened the treasury and was just helping himself to, the money in the treasury. So, petty stealing is what we are seeing in Nigeria. Robbery. So, when you now say code of conduct, is begging people, it's because they know that politicians will not allow them to work. They will not allow them to function. They will not allow them to succeed
So how do we now, get to a solution when the agency responsible is itself, handcuffed and can't do anything any longer? So we might as well just scrap it and let everyone just live their lives.
Well, the agency, there are too many anti-corruption agencies in Nigeria. You know, the police, they have a special fraud unit. They also have an anti-fraud unit, the same Nigeria police.
They also
you have EFCC, you have ICPC, you have Code of Conduct. How many agencies fighting corruption? And yet corruption, keeps growing.
They have X-Squad.
They have their squad.
The one that check police.
So, there are too many. It has become now a job for the boys. If you professionalize the Nigeria police, like I believe you professionalize them, remove all these, all these influences, and then have a police branch, like you had the E branch that later became NSO, that later became SSS. If you have a special branch dealing with corruption, the thing is that the police, they receive intelligence on a daily basis about different things. So they can act on that intelligence, unlike EFCC, that will go and waste time dragging a very dark man and be interrogating him. Where are you getting money?
When the governor of that state took 1.3 trillion, you left him. You are looking for small people that are internet scammers.
That is it. So that is why I believe that if you have the police, the Nigeria police, well professionalized, they will do a better job. Scrap all these EFCC, ICPC, scrap all of them, so that you will have a branch of the police that's focused on dealing with corruption. And if you have a truly professional Nigeria police, you will see crimes will disappear. Because some of the characters you see on at roadblocks, they won't find their way into the police. You don't even need too many policemen in the country to deal with crimes. For instance, China now has invented air balloons that you can use for defense and other things. So if, let's say, you want to deal with an advancing column of Boko Haram and ISWAP, right? You know what? If you float your air balloon over them, it will create a kind of digital blockade. All their vehicles, it will jam their engines, it will jam their communications. It can even blow up a dust storm over them, and you finish them off. They won't even get close to your city. This thing is about technology. The air balloons, once they see the air balloon, they can't even shoot, because the air balloon will move so quietly. It would even have started raining fire and brimstone on them before they even know it is there.
All right. We sincerely hope that things work out. And you spoke about the Nigerian police, and just to let people know that IGP Egbetokun has started a new elite police force that would protect VIPs. So it's possible that very soon.
Why do VIPs? Why do they need protection?
That it will totally get them out of
the
VIPs.
And, why do VIPs need
and concentrate in the society?
Why do VIPs need
It's not a good news that is starting an elite police, what do you call it, guard for VIPs. I mean, we need a police force that will protect Nigerians.
That's all.
Yes, that's what is required. So if
but they still need to protect the VVIPs.
What makes them VIPs?
No, everybody requires
every Nigerian is a VIP.
Every Nigerian requires protection. That's what I'm saying. Reform your police to protect Nigerians. That's it.
Every Nigerian needs protection. If, let's say, this area now is covered by cameras, covered by drones and all of that, before criminals will move, criminals are not spirits now. They don't float through the air. They move by road now, mainly. So before they can cover 2 kilometers, a drone will cover 30 kilometers before they're able to cover 2 kilometers.
And we need to invest in the gadgets.
That is it.
In the US, you don't stop a vehicle, say stop.
What
the policeman will just drive at your back. As it's at your back, he has scanned your number, your plate number. If you have not paid insurance, he's aware. If your driver's license has expired, he's aware. From that, you're just driving at your behind. Every law you have broken, he has it with him in like 5 seconds. Then before he pulls you. And when he pulls you, your hand must remain on the steering. Your hands must remain on the steering. That is because they know that you can bring out gun and then every time. So your hand must be on the steering. Then he will profile you and then take you safely to jail.
Let me tell you something that happened to me.
So,
you know this thing you said, Nigeria police, they have the equipment. There was a time, some years ago, I was driving back to the office. I was working in one newspaper house then. And then I saw the car of, a colleague of mine, and I saw people inside. So I pulled over, got down, I hope no problem. I said, no problem. I'm just with my police friends. We're sorting out things. Do you know when he got back to the office, he told me something. He said the policeman that when I parked, that they immediately imputed my number. They got my details. They got the fact that my papers were up to date. And they were telling him, look at your insurance is not up to date, but see your colleague. You say it's your colleague, Abi. See your colleague. Everything, all his vehicle particulars are up to date.
So which means we have all the...
We have the equipment now. We have all these things. Do you know in the IG's official residence, you have equipment that can actually monitor conversations across the country. It was a matter when Ehindero was an IG. I think there was talk that he wanted to buy the IGP's residence. And they were saying, is it to buy it with the sophisticated equipment inside the IGP's official residence? We have all these things now. But why are they not using them? It is because it will hurt their friends.
All right, we sincerely hope that the CCB, of course, will not give up, and equally, truly do hope that those required to allow for that agency to function would equally function. Thank you so very much, gentlemen, for being here. Truly do enjoy our discussion for today. And that's just about the time we have. Thank you so very much for making the picture complete. We truly do appreciate you. But please do well to visit us if you may. You can read up on everything we've discussed when you see us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally rewatch everything we've equally have talked about here when you visit us at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Gwibike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.